We are live.
I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the agenda in front of us. Is there any additions, changes, modifications? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept it.
We still have to take that off because I've already posted. You emailed on 7.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Public comment. Anyone here from the public that wishes to comment?
I'd like to say something.
Okay, you're not the public, but go ahead and comment.
As y'all know, Ann Kessinger, our manager at the animal shelter, was in a very freak, horrible accident with her 2 children Tuesday evening, Halloween night. They were flown to Louisville in 2 different hospitals. They're home now. There was very critical and serious injuries. And I just want everyone to keep them in their thoughts and prayers.
Thank you, Becky. Next on the agenda is Erin Emerson with her quarterly report.
Thank you. Let me pass those down. And Andrew, sorry, I don't think I have enough for you because I was not anticipating it being right there. But I can get you copies with the chair. All right, good morning. As you know, I'm Erin Emerson, and I am the Perry County Development Corporation, and I am here to give a quarterly update on our activities. And one of the first things that I wanted to bring up was that in September, we held our annual meeting, and I don't believe that any of you were able to attend. So I wanted to point out our strategic plan. We did that this year, and it had been quite a while since we had updated our plan. It was past time, so we worked with some consultants to do that. We had a board retreat. We took input from the community, and we did some focused interviews. And as a result of that, we have updated our mission. It was kind of unveiled at that meeting. Our updated mission is to provide leadership, advocacy, and marketing for economic development and quality of place in Perry County to retain and expand existing businesses, drive workforce development, and attract new investment. And our updated vision is to lead positive change and create generational programs that will ensure long-term quality of life and economic growth for Perry County. And we also kind of refocused ourselves and have 5 core goals and focus areas. Business attraction remains important. Pursue opportunities to attract new business and industry to the area. Business retention and expansion. Prioritize the needs and opportunities for existing businesses that are the backbone of Perry County. Workforce development and talent attraction. Create a pipeline for new talent and support skills and training programs to help workers fill existing and new jobs. Community development. Support initiatives and programs that create the community services and resources needed by current and future residents. And lastly, marketing. Engage in communication activities that showcase the assets and advantages of Perry County as well as the successes of the PCPC. At that meeting, we also had a guest speaker, Dr. Michael Wilcox. He is Purdue Extension's Assistant Director of Community Development, and he is also the Associate Director of the North Central Regional Center for Rural Development. And he kind of looked at our population, and he, we know that we have not had a tremendous growth and that we've kind of stayed what has been called stagnant in that straight line. But he kind of reframed that in comparison to a lot of other rural communities across the Midwest that have really nosedived in population over the last few decades. And he kind of reframed that as resilience, and that we've been able to hold steady, and that we are positioned for growth, but that we really want to be strategic about what kind of growth we are looking for. And I know a few of you guys were in attendance at Region 15's recent 50th anniversary dinner, and it really reminded me of the theme that was shared there as well, that sometimes being able to not lose population is a success in itself, and we really want to be strategic about the kind of growth that we want. All right, on to the quarterly update. I'm not going to hit every point because there are several under each area, but I will point out a few of them. From the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, you'll remember that we receive requests for information anytime there is a business looking to expand, relocate, and we have, since the last meeting that I reported at, we have received 17 of those. And based upon the criteria, we have been able to respond to 3 of those. Under business retention and expansion, we are continuing to work with WPACA on their potential expansion project, really looking at the overall industrial park with an eye toward the future and how to best utilize that property. And we actually have a call later today with WPACA corporate and the RDA and the RDC, and I think maybe Andrew will be on there as well to kind of determine how we will handle transferring that ownership. On Web Wheel, since our last update, we have seen the RDC transfer the full 54.349 acres to Web Wheel now that the bonds have been paid off. And I have a meeting later this week with the president of Web Wheel to hand over those deeds and talk about any ways that we can assist them with their current or future activities. We are continuing to work on recording all of the mitigation that was necessary as part of the work that was done on Riverview Industrial Park. We are nearly done. We need to get one more piece of that mitigation recorded, and that is on some property that is owned by the commissioners, and I will be working to get a survey of that property, and we'll move forward from there. On talent retention and attraction, we are continuing to work with Make My Move, which involves cash incentives for out-of-state movers that are willing to relocate to Perry County. Since our last update, or as of October the 15th, we have received 654 applications. 164 of those have been what is considered pre-approved, which means that they met all of the criteria that is in place. 27 of them were offered to move. 9 of them have accepted, and of the 9 that have accepted, we've had 3 relocated households for a total of 8 individuals with an average household income of $115,000 annually, which produces $164,000 in new economic output. And then there is a breakdown below on consumer spending, as well as it bringing in an additional $4,600 in new annual local tax revenue. Housing has definitely proved to be a challenge as we have worked with these potential new residents, and that's definitely been a barrier for the last couple that we have almost gotten, and just finding the right housing match in the time frame that they are looking at. But we are going to continue to work with them, and we actually have several in the pipeline right now. There continue to be matching funds available from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation that was set aside through the legislature, and I want to take advantage of any matching funds that are potentially on the table. So we are discussing like re-upping our contract or signing a second contract. And Make My Move has just recently announced that they are open to helping communities do more strategic attraction, which is something that I've really asked them multiple times that they would be willing to do. They just announced that they are doing nurses, teachers, and law enforcement officers, which I think is a need in all communities, especially ours. And I've also talked to them about looking at potential veterinarians and doing more strategic attraction to those. So we are excited to continue our work with them and really get feedback from the community on what our biggest needs are. I've attached both of an article that talks about the new program that is for specific professions. And then I've also attached an article. Our incentive offer was recently featured in an article by Forbes Advisor. And I was interviewed for that article as well as Ryan Coulter, which is one of our first movers. And that article is attached, and it's a good read. He talks about the cost of living differences in Florida and what they can do here versus what it would have cost in Florida. And that through this program, they became aware of Perry County, but otherwise they never would have known that this was a place that they could potentially live. On workforce development, the tour of opportunity was held on September the 26th. That event includes all of the 8th graders from the county, and they toured Whippack Foundry, Web Wheel, ATTC, and Tell City Ivy Tech. And the goal is really to expose them to different potential career opportunities and also kind of give them an inside look at some of our largest employers. And student feedback was collected by the schools after the tours. 90% of students reported that they learned about a new career that day, and 40% reported that the event helped them decide on a career pathway that they would like to take in high school. I did include some of their feedback on their favorite parts of the day, just because I think it really gives an inside look at what's important to them and how it impacts them. One of them was, my favorite part of the day was Ivy Tech. I liked how relaxed and how nice the people were that were handing out the freebies. Letting us do little activities on our own really gave me the sense that they trusted us, which I think is just a good activity for young adults. Another was, my favorite part of the day was probably getting to see how much work these foundries do and what parts they provide us with. I also got to see my dad as one of my tour guides, so that made me happy. Another was, my favorite part of the day was when we toured ATTC and we got to see the robots and the big machines. Another, my favorite part of the day was at Web Wheel when we got to catch and feel the metal shavings that came off the conveyor belt. Another, enjoyed seeing how the machines work and how WPAC is very important to Web Wheel and ATTC because that is where they get some of their product. And then the last was everything. I enjoyed everything about this trip. We also just finished hosting Aspire, which is when we take all of the sophomores in the county and girls students go to one school, boys students go to another school, and they are paired with over 40 professionals of that same gender. So the males were at Perry Central this year, females were at Tell City, and we kind of jokingly call it speed dating for careers, but the professionals sit at tables, and every 10 to 15 minutes, the students rotate and they really get exposed to a wide variety of careers that day. And it just really gets their minds thinking about the potential opportunities, especially if they have a desire to potentially come back to Perry County. And I think that it's hard to measure the impact of events like that, but they may end up going back to something that they learned or someone that they were connected with that day 5-10 years down the road. We continue to work with Ivy Tech. Katie King is doing a really great job making sure that that campus is being utilized. She works really closely with any industry that is interested in hosting a kind of a training. And we have recently worked with Katie and the Perry County Business and Industrial Development Corporation to help fund some instructor travel for a health and human sciences class so that it would not be canceled. Under housing, there used to be a focus area. As you know, the RDC held a lottery in August for the lots in Forest Canton Heights. 6 of those were sold, and I am working with the RDC to market the remaining lots, as well as connect with potential buyers or builders. Under multifamily housing definitely continues to be a focus, and having conversations with potential developers, as well as continuing to identify potential sites for development. Under childcare, in August, I testified before the Interim Study Committee on Public Health, Behavioral Health, and Human Services, and that committee recently published their final recommendations, and they incorporated several of my written suggestions that I've been asked to share. and that report is attached. There are some specific points that I'd like to highlight in a little bit. Under the Quality of Life Committee, Farm to Table dinner was hosted on October 7th in Derby, and now planning for New Year's Eve is underway. On regional activities, READY. As we know, 2.7 million in READY funds coming into Perry County, which will result in over 15 million of private investment. Specific project updates, we had talked about Forest Canton Heights. On Hoosier Heights subdivision, they recently received approval from IDEM. So tree removal as such take place this month, and infrastructure started by the first quarter of 2024. On the Tell City Sports Complex, construction is planned to begin immediately following the 2024 season. The city is in the process of seeking requests for qualifications to work with a developer through the build, operate, transfer model, which is one of the methods that is allowed through the READY funds in the state of Indiana. And Ivy Tech Workforce Training and Enhancement Project expected to begin before the end of the year. There was somewhat of a delay working through Ivy Tech's internal processes in terms of their receiving grant funds. And READY 2.0, which has been announced through the state. It's another round of READY. There are definitely some differences between round 1 and round 2, and I've included some information on that in this packet, but we held focus groups, and we invited county commissioners, county council, and the RDC and the RDA to those. They were held on October the 24th at our offices. We did one at 9 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and 2 p.m. And I think that we had really good attendance and got some really good feedback. And then later in the packet, there is a breakdown of the differences between READY 1 and READY 2, as well as the presentation that was shared that day, specifically between READY 1 and READY 2. The state really wants to work even closer with regions this round, and where in round 1 they wanted you to kind of have a list of projects identified prior to being awarded funds. This time they really want a strategy, and then the state says that they will work with you if you are awarded to choose projects. Round 1 was funded through the state's ARP dollars. This round is funded through the state's allotment that was set aside by the legislature, and the legislature has specifically said that they would like to fund capital projects only and infrastructure. The IEDC will administer the projects or the funding in round 2 versus in round 1. Regions were responsible for hiring a grant administrator. And in round 1, the max amount of an award for a region was 50 million, where in round 2, it has been increased to 75 million. However, there is still just the same pot of 500 million. So the state has really emphasized that this round will be very competitive, and not every region will necessarily get awarded. So we are working with our same READY region. Applications for round 2 are due in February, and I believe that the state anticipates announcing by April. So again, there are a lot of attachments here, but I will pause to answer any questions or see if you'd like me to go on.
You said at the beginning that you go through the community. You went through the community for different things. How did you do that?
Which part? I'm sorry.
When you started, you said you went through the community for surveys, ideas. I don't know how you did that.
During our strategic planning process, yes. When we did our strategic plan, we developed, with help from our consultants, like a questionnaire, and that was sent out to all elected officials, and I think we used like all of your email addresses, and then we have put it on social media, boosted it several times on there. And we got, I can't remember, we got a lot of feedback. I remember that our consultants were surprised at the number of responses that we received.
So do you have any kind of, I know there has been some discussion about the Foundry's expansion. Do you have any update on that, whether that's?
I do not have an official update in writing. I know that they
Let's
have
leave it at that.
continued to vet it. I know that it will involve quite a substantial infrastructure upgrade, and I believe that that is where the focus currently is, and working with those utility partners to determine the cost of those upgrades and the timeframe.
Okay.
And we did have a meeting on site with John Shear, myself, and the utility partners last week. I think that's really, the timing and the cost will be determined a lot by that.
Do you have any idea? No one's really kind of set any kind of a timetable or anything to that? What they would like to have it achieved by a certain time, or what?
I don't have like an end date. I don't. I know right now there is an engineering study that is in process, and I think that there will be a lot more known after that. It's complete. I think it's anticipated to be complete by January, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Any other questions?
On the Canton Heights subdivision, was that about what you expected, the first round 6, or was that open for more than that?
Well, I think they were definitely hoping for more than that, but I think that it's such a new, process, and I think that I'm sure that locally people were kind of waiting it out to see how it would go that first round. I know that they really wanted, I believe the intent was to be very fair to local builders/developers and to not go out of the community and seek other people without first giving everyone locally the opportunity. And I think that now that they have done that, and I mean, if anyone is interested in a lot at any time, you can, I believe, you contact Chris, you contact John Shear, I can get you in contact. But now that they've given everyone that opportunity, we are working on outreach outside of the community.
So they don't have any of it in realtors' hands?
Not that I'm aware of, no, not currently. And that, I believe there has been a discussion about potentially some realtors attending one of the upcoming meetings and talking about how they can work together.
Because I do know one realtor was there at the last meeting.
Yeah.
When the lots were sold.
Yeah.
And some of that's out of their control with the economy and the interest rates, and people's a little nervous right now.
Yes, and I agree. I think it's kind of ebb and flow, and hopefully those will begin going lower soon. Building costs at least level out. But people are gonna need housing regardless, and I think it is a need.
Yeah, we have lots available now. Paid, all the utilities, so.
And I think, it really is a good, like, the outside developers that I've talked to, when I have told them how much the price of the lot is, and that everything's in place, that the roads are already there, that all of the infrastructure and utilities in place, I get, like, what, are you sure? Like, you mean we need to, no, it's all there, right? 15,000 single lot, all there. So it's a good deal.
Yeah, that means a lot, especially if you're looking at a lot.
Yep.
All that infrastructure is there already.
And if you drive through there, you'll see fire plugs are there also. So that means that the line's in sufficient size to, it's first class.
Well, thank you for your work. Look like you've been busy this quarter, so.
Stay busy, yes.
Anything else, Becky? Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Appreciate you stopping by. Next items, we have the minutes, acceptance of the minutes. The first one we've got is 10/2/23. Any comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept them as written.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that
A
motion.
motion and a second, all those in favor? 3-0. Minutes for 10/6/23. Any additions or modifications, changes? If not,
I'll make a motion, Randy, to approve.
we have a motion
That's it.
and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Minutes for 10/17/23. Any modification changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes as written.
I'll second that motion.
I need a motion first, Becky.
You wanna make a
First
motion?
one?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Alright.
Those are accepted. Next item is approval of the payroll. Chris,
We have 10/23, in the amount of 162,853.33. And then we have 11/6 in the amount of 165,528.57.
do we need to take those separate?
I would take them separate.
Okay, I'll make a motion on 10/3. I mean, 10/23.
We have a motion to approve payroll of 10/23.
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll make a motion to accept the payroll item for 11/06/23.
I'll second that, Randy.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. Next is health insurance claims.
In the amount of 183,225.69.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the health claims. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Chris, have we heard anything yet on healthcare costs for 24
We
yet?
have not. I got the last email that you were copied on is the last one I got to.
And
So
that's-
I have been diligently contacting them as we need it. So we're gonna have to delay our open enrollment as of right now. Because there's no way we'll be able to get all of it done in time for that. So our original schedule for our open enrollment for the end of November is gonna have to be delayed till December as of right now because of, so
So how long is that going to give for open enrollment?
we haven't reset the new dates.
Problem of it is we're not getting any quotes back and the ones that they're estimating aren't pretty, so.
Yep.
We just have to wait and see. We just have to get some firm numbers.
But we did budget for, as they allocated, for the 10% increase, so we were budgeted for that.
We have this flex spending of 3679 is the next item.
I want to kind of explain this a little bit. As you guys can see, this is new on here. We have restructured the flex spending. Not to go into too much detail about it, but we work with Imagine 360 who handles the flex, and they just basically auto debit each week what employees spend out of it. Within the last few months, I had gotten to looking into it, and it's something that we want to track on our end as well, because flex spending is different than health spending or savings account is different, or a flex spending account is different than a health savings account. A flex spending account, employees, if they are set to put in $25 a paycheck, and they're gonna have $550, whatever, $600, I think that's 600, equals out to 600. Then they can spend that 600 prior to it even being in there. Okay, so if we have an employee that spends it in March and leaves before the end of the year, then the county is at a loss on that because we didn't collect enough on that. And so we, are managing that now, where we can look at it. So you guys will start seeing this health spending regularly each.
Can that be restructured?
I have restructured it, yes. Yeah. So, health savings, you're not allowed to phrase that. Flex spending, you cannot limit them to spending, to only being able to spend what they've put in. It's available to them right off the bat. If you want them to only be able to spend as what they've put in, it needs to be a health savings. But we have always, in the past, went with the flex spending. And it just kind of was something that made me have a ball in my throat when I'm like, okay, we have turnover and people are spending it and then leaving, and there's no check and balance with that, then the county's absorbing that loss. So we have restructured that to where it's an added thing that we're overseeing and out of my office as well. Imagine 360 is still running the card, and they're that, but now we're making sure that that's on our offboarding list. If someone were to leave, and we have to check, we're checking their flex spending to see if they've spent more than they put in. If so, then it will be held from their last pay.
Is there any limitations on how much they can put in, minimum, maximum?
I don't think with the flex, I think there is with health, but I'll have to check into that for sure.
Well, is this flex prior to taxes?
Prior, yes.
And there's
It's very restrictive on what you can take out of it too.
It's
Like,
gonna have a
you can
limit.
you can meet deductibles, and like say on the orthodontic side, you can't, if you set aside for the braces, but then at the end, like the retainers, it won't pay for the retainers. You can't take that money and pay for retainers. You can't take it and pay for over-the-counter medications, but you can pay for prescription that is outside of our deductible. There's a limit on, even if you have insurance that you'll cover your spouse, you're limited on what you can use that flex spending on the spouse. And like any certain amount that you spend out of there, you get a thing from the Image 360 that says you spent $200. We want a receipt on who you spent that on and what it was for on a regular basis. About any time you spend out there, you're gonna get something.
From what I've learned too, the flex is basically maintained by the county, a flex spending account. If you have a health savings account, the employees oversee it. Basically, they've got a separate health savings account and you're putting the money in there and it's theirs. But with the county or with the flex, basically the county oversees it. So, I haven't dug into it in the past to see if there was loss based on the current system or the previous system that we had. I don't see that there was any check and balance on the county side. So that's why we've started that now, where we're keeping track of it in the auditor's office as well. And like I said, added it to the offboarding where if somebody leaves and they've overspent, then the county won't be in a loss because
How long has this been in effect?
I don't know how long we've had the health savings account.
No, flex.
We- we-
Flex, sorry. I
We've
don't
had
know.
the flex spending probably about 8 or 9 years. It's been a good while. Probably.
I'd like to see an average of, or numbers of how much the county has been out
Yeah.
on this flex
And you
spending
can,
account.
like the difference between the flex spending, some accounts you can't roll over. You have to spend it by December 31st.
Mhm.
Ours is you can roll over up to a certain amount, but you've got to expenditure that within the first quarter of what you roll over. A health savings account, you can put whatever in there and it can just sit there and you can add to it and it rolls over your entire balance, whatever that is.
Yeah, we had HSAs and flex when I was
Right.
working, so I know all about it.
See, I don't understand why we wouldn't maybe be better off going an HSA and the county no longer is involved with any of the management. The funds are the employees' funds to
Yeah.
make sure they spend them according to the laws and we're just out of it. It seemed like we're doing a lot and it seems like similar restrictions on what you can and cannot spend for.
But
We
only
need
the county's not responsible for the
Yeah, the
losses.
county's not trying to oversee it. I mean, just let it become an employee, fund and let them manage it.
I
But
learned
I think
something
on the flip
different.
side of that too, if I leave and I haven't spent it all,
It's
I don't
yours.
get a check for it either.
If an HSA is your property, I'm positive of
The
that.
HSA follows you,
Yes.
even
Yes,
if you're no longer employment. It
I do
follows
know
you.
that.
The flex spending doesn't.
Yeah.
So if I've got a balance, I'm gonna forfeit that balance.
you need to go buy $500 worth of Band-Aids.
Yeah. But it's better off, if they can just take it. If they choose to leave employment, then they have the money to use or something else in the
Mhm.
future and they're not forced into spending
Right,
it or
with an
whatever. It's just-
HSA, right.
We need to ask the insurance providers what the real difference is, and maybe that's the change we just want.
And this is something that was within our audit the last year. The audit which is not completely finished up, but the on-site part was just finished up. This is something that was discovered within that audit.
Okay.
So, that's kind of where we're at. So the flex spending currently claim for this is $36.79, very small amount this time.
Entertain a motion to accept the flex spending.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second,
All those in favor?
but I would like to see how much the county has been out.
Okay, I'll see what I can pull up with that.
Next item is dental insurance, 7878. That's pretty straightforward. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Uh,
Vision's the same thing. It's almost the same amount, 7871 for vision.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Life insurance claims, 1464.19. Can Chris elaborate a little bit on that? What is,
That's our,
just the payments?
just our payments.
Or this payment that covers
Our
county
premium.
employees?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. The next one is approval of the claim docket for $1,757,965.17. With that one, I looked it up to make sure I was correct. We have some accounts that's in the red that we need to get appropriations, and I looked up again, and it's appropriations are required before distributions may be made from any fund subject to the budget laws.
What you got? Are you talking the accounts are negative or the funds? Because I do want to reiterate something. We are changing things, but you have categories of your accounts. So you basically have your 10,000, and you kind of look at them by numbers. Your 10,000s, your 20,000s, your 30,000s, okay? State Board of Accounts states that your category, so like you can run a sub account negative, okay? But as long as there's funds within that category, okay? So if you're looking at the 10,000s and you have one of your 10,000s that are negative, okay? But as long as your overall balance is within that category, this is kind of where I've explained with the department heads that if you borrow money from postage, let's say you run short in postage, okay? So you're gonna borrow from your postage, borrow 200 from your travel to cover your postage, okay? So if you do that in May, are you gonna remember in November that you borrowed 200 from travel? Because most of the time, you're just gonna look at your individual line items, okay? So we're in the process of transitioning and fixing that, and I've spoke with a lot of the department heads, to where if you're gonna borrow 200 from travel, let's just go ahead and do the in-house transfer right away to where it keeps the books clean. We're still in a transition of that. So some of the accounts might be negative because we're still in the process of transitioning to where they're doing the transfers before. So I want to make sure we kind of reiterate that. State Board of Accounts allows you to run your categories or a subline negative as long as you have the money available within your category. Now, just like anything else, the county can tighten the ropes or whatever. Personally, I like the idea of doing the in-house transfer before because it just cleaner books and then you know that it's there. But it is a transition, with getting people transitioned over to doing that. So I just wanted to.
Is there limits?
No.
There's no
You
limits?
you can't spend more. So if there's been between, let's say you've got three accounts within your category. So total adding up all those categories, if that, whatever their appropriation is. So if you add up all three of those categories and their appropriations are $5,000, you can't spend more than $5,000 within that category. But basically you're moving appropriation. So like if you're only budgeted $1,000 for postage, but you spend $1,200, you've got to pull that $200 from another subline within that category. So basically, if you're budgeted $1,000 for postage and you're budgeted $1,000 for travel, and you need to spend $1,200 in postage, you're going to decrease your appropriation on travel by $200 and add $200 onto your postage. So it's just changing the appropriation. So you can't go over the allotted appropriation within your category.
And who's going to be monitoring this?
I do. We do.
I'd like to see copies of.
I don't know what you see it.
Yeah, I know, but I'd like to see copies of the transfers and when and how much.
In-house transfers, you can see them within there. I mean, they happen. And in-house transfers do not have to be council approved. As long as they're going from a 1 to a 1, a 2 to a 2, a 3 to a 3, they do not have to receive approval. Department heads have that control. They can do that. They can move money within their category budget.
But I can't take it from a 3 to a 1.
But
Or a 1 to a
transfers,
3.
the transfers from a
I
1
know
to a
that.
2, a 2 to a 3 have to go before the council.
Okay, now let me get back to my whole point. It says appropriations are required before distributions. That's from the State Board of Accounts. Burial of soldiers was appropriated $2,400, and if we approve this, $2,550, so we're $150 in the red on that.
That one shouldn't be on there yet.
Okay.
We're doing it addition.
Then we have another one here that's, this is a travel account, and it was appropriated at $1,287.87, and it's in the red, $10.56.
There's already been a transfer on that. When did you
Right.
pull these?
Sunday night. I just did them right before I came in, so they happened this morning. Utilities at the Armory is in the red on appropriations, $89.58. There's another one
Can you
for
pass
Ohio.
those over to me so I can look
Sure.
these up as we go?
And I've got utilities on the radio tower is in the red, $43.62. Care of patients and institutions in the red, $867. There's an LIT safety share here that shows 25.
Are these on this claim docket? These aren't on this claim docket.
These are not on here?
No, because care of institution isn't set to be paid out till after the additional appropriation on the 19th.
Well, their docket date is 11/6, so this seems to be 11/6, I think, unless my clock's off. Then we have an unexpected $544,200 in the county road improvements. And the supplemental public, I just ran one of these off for $32,901 in the red on those. Janitorial cleaning service, $1,624. And I didn't run them.
Okay, I'm gonna make a statement here just because I just wanna
And
understand
over.
things here. I had sent out an email. I personally would like to have a lot of these questions answered prior to, and that's why I had sent out an email saying that I would like to have all of this addressed before any questions you had. I just don't feel being on the spot to answer these questions is appropriate because I don't want to answer questions off the cuff. I know that last week we had to delay sending the claim docket out because we were waiting on departments to get stuff in. And I gave them till the 1st, which was 2 days, a little bit longer than what we wanted. But I need to check on some of this stuff because I can sit here and do it if we want to while we're here. And I'm gladly, but in the future, I would truly like to have a lot of these answered before we come to the meeting, just because it's not fair to be able to have to answer these questions off the cuff. And like I've explained, these can be paid out because we're doing transfers from within. Now, I know the care of institution is an additional appropriation, and I know that I didn't okay that to be paid until after the additional appropriation on 10/19. So I will have to look into why it's on this claim docket because it shouldn't be on until the December. Actually, I remember. Yes, because we did the additional.
date that when we enter that stuff
Well,
into the claim, are we putting the wrong date?
That one's on mine. So let me just look at these real quick. Since we're gonna do this.
I think if someone within your office would look just like I do on Sunday night, or whenever I finally get a chance to do it, they'll see what's in the red.
But like I've explained, Randy, they can be, if there's appropriation available within that category. So,
I'm just going by what the State Board of
and that's
Accounts
fine, you
said.
can look into that, but I'm pretty sure that I can find the same answer that allows you to run you can run those categories. But like I said, we're transitioning to doing the additional appropriations. And I'm just gonna say, like I stated, this is all stuff that I think should be handled before the meeting to where it allows me time to be able to have my ducks in a row on what you're gonna ask me.
All I do is go to the actual documents in Lao and I look at them.
Okay, and did you receive my email asking you to do this beforehand? I mean, you want to do this is what we'll do.
I too have commitments. You have deadlines that you need to meet. I do.
But it is not
also.
fair. You want 48 hours to review the claim docket? I need 48 hours to review, or I need some time, not 48 hours, but I need some time to be able to answer your questions, not off the cuff.
Okay, fair enough. Your department's the one who generates these, not my department.
And like I said, we'll go through it. So do you want to deny the claim docket again and we'll come back on Friday?
I think that's the commissioner's decision.
That's what I'm
whether you
asking
wanna
you.
approve something or not. You know, the law says that appropriations are required before
The appropriations are there within the category. The care of institution, I do know that I don't believe that one was supposed to be on there, and I will look into that. But it's something you have to pay, so the additional appropriation is set for the 19th.
So we could really approve all of them but that one.
You can even approve that pending their thing. Here's the whole thing. I don't get the bills until the 1st of the month, till the timing of getting the bills. I mean, I just got more bills for care of institution after I had already published the additional appropriation, which won't be able to be paid out till January because of the way it is. If we would have, because of the way we're handled, because of the way it's been chosen to handle the care of patients. As long as at the beginning of the year, we're not going to have that problem. But it has been the choice that we bring each month to ask for the additional appropriation. So therefore, that's the process that has been chosen to run. So,
That's from the State Board of Accounts.
and you can contact them because it's not each individual line item, it's the category. Correct me if I'm wrong, I can ask the people to hear. Am I correct in saying, if you want to come up here, that prior to, you guys you were able to borrow from within that category, you guys didn't have to do the transfers?
Yes.
That that's something new that I just started for clean booking. But you guys were able to run a sub-account negative prior?
Oh, always,
Thank you.
always,
That's
as
what
long as we were within,
I remember
If
the past
travel
auditor
was-
always said that, as long as the funds was in that
yeah.
category, we
As
was
long as
okay.
travel, as long as our overall 3,000 or 30,000 had the money. And my travel was in a negative, but my postage had ample to cover that. We didn't even transfer, we just left it. Because our overall 30,000 were fine. So even if one was a negative and one had plenty in it, we didn't do that because we were overall fine.
And I'm not sure what the law is, but they might be discussing or anticipating that the appropriation be to that overall series, meaning like the appropriation of $5,000 for that category has been made.
I got it highlighted
Okay.
where it says the appropriation has to be there before we spend the money.
The appropriation within the category.
Doesn't
Not-
say anything about the category.
Doesn't say anything about the
Maybe they
accounts
need to-
either.
To rewrite that. It's just the appropriation needs to be there before we pay the bill. That's part of the council's job, is that they appropriate the money, and I think that's the purpose of it. They need to be appropriating the money before we sign a warrant to pay for it. If not, what's the purpose of the council? We're spending the money.
But Randy Cleveland has just stated that prior to, and a lot of the reasoning for me encouraging and trying to transition to where we're doing the transfers prior to the bill being paid is because of the clarity and the easy, that it's cleaner within the books. And when you're looking at it, because when you're going to look at it, you're just looking at that one account, you're not looking at the category.
I'm seeing what's being spent in addition to appropriate, whatever the listed amount appropriation is. This one right here is 2,400. And the expenditure is 2,550. So that's 150 over what was appropriated. I don't control the transfers. I don't control anything. I just looked at this account. You're asking to pay something that hasn't been appropriated. Now, maybe within that account somewhere or something it was done, but I'm not gonna go through all of those documents and try to work this out.
That's not, I get
It's not
that.
my job.
but that's
My
what I'm
job is to
saying.
see that we're following the law.
And what I'm saying is you can spend that money within that category. So we are transitioning to doing the transfers. But if there's money within that category, they can spend it.
Okay,
And if
so
you want to
how-
write
how
an
do-
ordinance to tighten it to where they can't spend it, then you can.
How do we determine, when I look one of these documents up on LAO,
Mhm.
how do we determine that we're not spending money that's not been appropriated?
Then what you do is you go to location budget by date span. You don't do that view by account. And when you go to that location budget by date span and you select what fund you want to look at and don't divide the accounts out, do all the accounts. And then when you print that report, it's going to put them in those categories. And you're going to see the breakdown of each category balances.
So then every one of these I see, I'm gonna have to go to each one of those to look through those entire 30,000 or whatever that number is, to try to determine if there's money there,
You'll have
to
to
see
print the
whether
whole,
this red over the appropriation is legit or not. I
correct.
need 3 more days to do all this instead
And that's
of,
why I'm saying,
instead of the transfers being conducted, so the red doesn't show up like we haven't appropriated it.
But once
You can-
Chris gets her, which program she's wanting to put in place, could be by next year or
we're
mid-year
transitioning to it. I can't,
transition over, then we won't have to do that.
Yeah.
It'll be.
I mean, it's a lot of work if you're gonna go through each one of those accounts and each one of these.
I do
things.
it every month.
and you're paid as the auditor.
That's true, but trust me to do my job.
But that's where we have. you
Trust me
have
to do my
a person-
job.
Each office is turning in a claims to the claims person.
Correct,
She is vetting those.
correct.
After she's gone through those, she sits down with the auditor and they go through those again. So it's vetted twice before it gets you. Could there be a mistake? Yes. But have confidence in the staff that we have in place instead of beat them to death over $10 that's there.
And
No
if you
one's
would
beating no
just
one.
correct this when they go through it, it wouldn't highlight it in red as though it's not been appropriated. All we're doing is we're the checks and balance to make sure the funds are appropriately being allocated. And when we come in and we see this is why you invested $400,000 in software, is for this purpose.
You have to give them time to transition to this. This is something new to them. They don't understand. They look at their category. They look at their 3,000s. They look at their 2,000s. They look at their 1,000s. It's not going to happen overnight. Just like you just told me that I can't move forward and I can't jump our time and attendance up because we've got to give them time. We need to give them time to get this changed. And this is one plate that I have spinning in the air, one plate. So give me time to transition to this. And this is my job. And I know I'm doing my job to the best of my ability.
Okay, Chris, on the department, Mindy, you can probably answer this. Okay, if at category 30,000, and if you have a claim, if you hit that threshold of going over that in there, well, you'll know that, won't you?
I can see it. Yeah,
Okay, you can
because
see it first, and you look for that.
when we go into to create a claim that we send to them, it has a balance. And then we have to put in the amount that we're putting that claim in. It shows you an ending balance. If it's in a negative, you're
Yeah.
gonna see that it's in the negative.
Okay. It's sort of like, Randy, it's sort of, you're a businessman, it's sort of like you got a checkbook, and I was gonna spend, this year I was gonna spend $10,000 for fuel. Well, fuel went up, I gotta spend 12. If I got the money in the checkbook, you gotta spend it.
That is correct. But in county government, you have checks and balance through the council and the commissioners, and they have to appropriate the funds. It's not the fact that we can't make these payments. The money's there, but the council has to appropriate and/or a transfer internally to change that to this account here, so the appropriation shows a larger amount and it takes it out of the red. And that's something that's not even required. I don't think the transfers are required approval of the council within the budget lines, correct?
From a 1 to
So-
a 1 within the
So
categories,
they
no.
could transfer it when they see that it goes red.
Right. And
That's what she's trying to do
I'm
in the
trying to
future.
transition those
Yeah.
over.
Randy, with that split payroll we do out there, she has to be able, Marilyn has to be able to transfer, because we don't know how much is gonna be in payroll or this or that,
Right.
and she has to spend 50% or more. We have to do them in-house transfers, and what she's talking about there, we've always done that to the highway department, as long as it was in that group. You can
Right.
spend it.
Right. And if the
But no, you just contradicted yourself, because you just said that you stated that it states the appropriation has to be in there. When I questioned it, you said no. And when he just said it, you said, I agree.
No, he didn't say that. Now listen to me. He's saying he does internal transfers, okay? If you did an internal transfer to this account, it would not be red.
Steve,
Steve, does your
that's not
accounts
what he's
turn up
saying.
red?
That's not what you were saying. You were saying because Marilyn questioned why I was making him have to do that, making you guys do this. Because she said, we never had to do this before. We could run one sub account negative and as long as the category was positive. Is that not what you just said?
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel like I'm in a court of law right now.
Transfer from that non-restricted to restricted to balance to meet the state's requirements, NDOT requirements on.
Whether it's a grant or whatever, to stay in compliance.
Yeah.
Correct. But you don't, do you run accounts in the red?
Thank you.
Then I haven't seen them.
They're
We do have one on there right now that's
He's got a whole funded-
$544,000. I think maybe it has to do with the community crossings or another paying E&B paving.
You're not looking at the right things because they do. You're not looking at all of them then.
I'm just looking at what we're being asked to.
But then I'm saying they've obviously been approved before because they ran in the they ran in the negative. He has negative accounts, yes.
But see, we didn't have access to Lao up until about 2-3 months ago or
Yeah, 3
something,
months ago.
something like that. Which
And like-
allows you to look at it and then it shows the red over the
This is the
appropriation.
primary reason why I have explained in the department head meetings that we need to do the in-house transfers before, because it makes the books look cleaner for you when you look at it. And then we don't spend 25 minutes over one claim here.
So, but the question becomes, Chris, again, when I look at, am I supposed to just ignore anything that's in the red?
You ask me about it and I'll tell you what it is. But like I said, I would like to do this prior than look like this on camera where we're arguing about this.
Simply that it's a time issue then.
Well, I'm pretty sure that I have to get my stuff to you in a timely manner.
And I got before the meeting, that's my requirement too.
So you're not gonna respect the fact that if I give it to you 4 days prior, that you use that review period to contact us, you're
If
gonna
I
wait till
have
the day of the
time, I
meeting.
will do that. But if I don't have time, I do it on the weekends as I did this again.
I can look through all those and let you know this afternoon what the status of each of them are.
But it still, at the bottom line, if it's in that category,
If that's the case, they should be transferring it, so it doesn't.
yeah, I know, that's what we're gonna get to in time.
But one of the things is I can remember the comment in past that the council makes the comment that, well, what do we have to do? The commissioners have already approved it to be paid. And I think the council needs to appropriate the money prior to us spending it. It's just everybody's lane. So how do we want to handle this?
Can I look at each of those and I'll see which ones they are? So this is,
I say approve them and give Chris time to get her program into place, and we won't have this discussion anymore.
this is a transfer that's being approved on the 19th, so that should have been, because
I mean, they may all be
$10.56 transfer, because she transferred it from,
But Randy, you're saying approve these.
If they're
until-
in, which they are, they're in that category of the,
Okay, you're saying approve this until the program gets in place. We don't know when that program's
No.
gonna get in place.
this program's coming. We won't have this issue in the future, what I'm really saying.
But how long?
Well, that's gonna be up to Chris, how long, and the department heads. It's not only Chris, it's gonna be the department heads to help her with this.
this is an additional appropriation that's being approved on the
What I'm
19th.
asking is a time frame here, so this doesn't keep
Well,
coming
I
up
think
every
we could
month.
ask, it depends on Chris, how,
Here's a highway that's negative, which is okay because there's money in the other. Actually, no, that's a transfer. I think some of these right here
See, that can get very
needed to be
confusing.
paid
mhm.
by this date because they were due, but some of these are requiring transfers or additional appropriations that are being approved on the 19th, because that's an additional appropriation or a transfer on the night or additional appropriation on the 19th. This is a transfer on the 19th. This is an additional appropriation on the 19th. This is a transfer on the 19th. This is a transfer that's on the 19th, but if we wait, then they won't be able to be paid out till December. So it's just the way they fell. This right here is a transfer that's on the 19th, but it's not within the in-house in there. Burial soldiers, I've got to look on that one because I don't know about that one.
So Andrew, when I read this from the State Board of Accounts, it says appropriations are required before distribution.
Yeah, the second part is what funds subject to the budget law, which
Right.
I'm not sure if the sub funds are subject to budget laws. I have to double check. I'm not sure when they say the funds are appropriated, if they mean they have to be appropriated to specific sub-funds or to the general, to the overall line item. So if you appropriate the 10,000 and you approving 3,000 out of the sub-line, but it's still less than the 10,000 appropriated, I think you probably could, but I haven't looked at the specific administrative code or checklist BOA about where that statute is applying to the sub-funds in that
Can
overall
you do
line
that,
item.
please, where it's coming from you, not me?
Yeah.
See, the question becomes also is how do we determine when it's an appropriation, when the software leaves the appearance as though it's in excess of the appropriation?
See, that's kind of like what, okay, you're saying this is a transfer, this is an appropriation. It don't show it anywhere on here. So how do I know?
Because the transfers haven't been approved, they go to the council on the 19th. So technically, but here's where you get to where if you don't pay your bills on time, I get that. But all the in-house transfers, all those are transfers that are coming from a 3 to a 2 or 1 to a 2. Those are ones that have to be council approved. So technically, those are all ones that should be on the December claim docket, but are we going to incur fees or whatnot? I can start sending you guys a list of the transfers where you know what transfers, but technically they're not going to be approved to the council, so.
So we're actually approving payment of them before it's been transferred and there's any funds there. So if the council doesn't, I mean, it's kind of like you're getting the cart from the horse.
I know, but here's my whole thing. We've got to understand, and this is just Chris Hammett speaking freely, that if I'm given or I'm not even using myself because but if the assessor is given a budget and she's going to take $100 out of a 1 account and put it in a 2 account, I mean, she can do that. I mean, that's where I feel like.
Then it needs to be done so that these red ones don't show up. And see, if you want to actually go through the budget, just give them a lump sum, let them spend it however they want to. I mean, we can rework this. Government is different than the private sector. There's checks and balances. That's why you have a council of commissioners.
I completely understand. I'm fully aware of that.
And that's the point. And then, it's hard when you see these things that are over the appropriations.
Okay. So do you want me to keep all those out till after the 19th and we can have a special meeting after the 19th to get those paid? Or do you want to, I can pull those out.
Chris, I have a question on those that they have a question about. Say they make a motion to approve it with the intent that those things are done. On those things, do you mail those checks before the appropriate? If it requires an additional appropriation,
We would not pay those till after
those
the
will
19th.
not be paid until after the 19th, correct?
Correct. Okay. And I just wanted to reiterate, I'm doing my job, or my deputy is doing her job, because she's putting these in, or they're being put in their negative, and then she's contacting them and saying, hey, this needs to be, because there's some that are just not.
Adding up.
Well,
Then
no,
give us
I'm just gonna say that the financial part of there is one plate that they have spinning. So they have other stuff that they're doing of their job. Their financial stuff is just one plate that they have spinning. So we're their check and balance, and a lot of those are where they've filled out the transfer form with their claim, or turned in their transfer form when they entered their claim. Am I making sense? They're fully aware, but
That we've got to make adjustments within our budget.
but they don't know until they get the bill. So there's no way for them to do it in advance. And that's where I'm just like, I feel like there's got to be a little bit of trust and understanding that we're doing our job. I'm completely 100% you checking everything, and absolutely, but understand that there's more to it.
So when this comes up in the red, why would they not just go ahead and transfer? from
Because
account A to B?
they filled their paper out, but they're going from a 1 to a 2, so I can't do it until the council meeting. The council only meets once a month.
Yeah, now we're talking between, I'm saying if they're all in the 10,000 account,
Right.
they can go ahead and transfer it. And
That's
not
why I
an
was
issue.
saying, all those are being done. The in-house transfers began, all those right there, I'm looking at them and I remember those amounts because I know the EMA, the 8958 is going from a 1 to a 2.
Okay, so these all require council
Yes,
approval.
that's what I just said, yeah.
And see, it's, again, and maybe I
But those don't get
misinterpreted this
paid
about
until the council
appropriations
approves
need to
them.
be first before we pay the bill.
But lots of, like I said, they don't know that until they get the bill. We're at the end of the year.
That's
So
what-
they're
yeah.
like, we're at the end of the year and they're like, oh crap, I only budgeted 2,000 I budgeted 2,000 and this bill, I'm gonna go over by $89. Oh, let's see where I can pull it out of. So then they're doing the transfer, but it's not an in-house transfer. It is going from a 1 to a 2, so they have to go to council. So I can't really get that done before the claim because they're doing them simultaneously. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but we have like the pauper attorney accounts, 32,000. That's
It's
not a,
same thing. It's an
That's-
additional
that's an
appropriation.
additional appropriation.
Every one of those, if I can pull it up right now, the transfers and additional appropriation for the 19th, all of those are on there.
That's what I mean, but it takes council action. When's our next meeting?
Your meeting's the 16th before
Before their 19th.
Mhm.
That didn't work either.
So the only thing you could do is say, hey, Chris, these ones that require additional appropriations and transfers, we'll go ahead and approve them pending action by the council on the 19th, and they'll be paid out on the 20th. Because if I wait till December 6th, they're gonna be late, and then we're gonna have late fees and bad relations and all that. We're at the end of the year. You're gonna have this because of
Of the end of the year.
the end of the
Yeah.
year.
Getting close on.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree that I think you need to pass it with some contingency in the motion, because otherwise what happens is you approve things and then they go to the council and say, hey, it's already been approved, you have to pay this bill basically, or we're gonna,
Potential, correct.
yeah, and so then the council feels like they've been, strong armed because they have a bill that they didn't have any, appropriate money for, but someone else has already approved.
But the two of the additional appropriations, they really don't have a choice. It's care of institution, and this is the action that they chose to take. Instead of doing one lump additional appropriation, we've chose to do monthly additional appropriations. Just so you know, the additional appropriation also includes the bills to be paid out in December because or November bills to be paid out in December because I can't come for an additional appropriation in December. So I added 30,000 on to the additional appropriation request because I have to pay the November bills in December. Do you see what I'm saying? There's no additional appropriation request in December. This is the last one. So if we would have, with the care of institution, just done a lump sum, of 100,000 or whatever, I wouldn't be having to come back every month. And then it'd be there. But the process that you guys that has chosen to be done is that I come every month with the amount of the previous month's bill. And we're going like that. The other ones are just where it's the end of the year. The pauper attorney, same thing. She turned in the additional appropriation. I've had it, but it was, the council only meets once a month. So I might get it October 3rd, but I can't take it to the council unless I do a special meeting, and everybody has the additional appropriation schedule where this is the last day you can request. This is the date that that the auditor has to send it to the news to be in this edition of the Perry County News. This is the date that it is taken to the council.
So going forward, are we gonna have this
No.
issue next month?
No, because none of those are in-house because literally I can say that the transition that we've done, other than the burial, because I know that's should be, but I cannot remember if that was going from within the category or it's out. I'll have to look.
So then prior to us meeting the next time that we have to approve appropriations, someone will go through and see all these red ones and you'll provide us an explanation.
I will start submitting the additional appropriations and transfers to you guys as well.
And let us know though that explain these, so when you go through and you hit them all, they all come up as though they're in excess of the appropriation. You can say, this is gonna be a transfer, this is this, and explain it. Because all I do is go through and click on each one of them, and I'm thinking,
That's all.
Well,
I
what you could do is, because, I mean, I don't need any more work added on to me. What you could do is, if you see a negative, then you can go to the transfer, the appropriation, and say, okay, this one's good. Because I'm gonna send you that list of the additional appropriation, and
okay, we'll try it once.
I think it's good to say, nobody did anything wrong here.
thank you.
We've been doing this for years. We just got some new ideas. I mean, it's not a bad thing. I'm not
No.
saying that, but we'll get through this, but nobody did anything wrong. I don't want any department thinks they did anything wrong, because that's the way it's been ever since I've been commissioner, because I've asked a past auditor, and she said, it's in the fund, so it's okay to run the rates. So, and you know, if they get in trouble, they'd be the first to get in trouble, then they'd come after the commissioner, because the auditor is supposed to audit the books. So they're not gonna stick their neck on the chopping block if they see they're doing something wrong, so.
I don't feel like we're finger pointing anyone, but if I see this, you know, I have questions.
Yeah, you should
But
have. I
Rebecca,
mean, you see something in the
Did you log into Lao
red.
and look into that debt? Did you log into Lao and look in that debt?
Yes.
I mean, if you see something in the red, yes, it's a question.
Yeah. And I have a right to ask those questions.
Yes, and
You know,
I
because
agree
we
with you,
are a
Becky.
governing body.
I totally agree with you. But I'm saying what we've done in the past, right, wrong, otherwise, it had to be right or we've been in trouble before now. We're not in trouble now. It's just, way we did business.
And
And,
Lao is going to do the programming for all of this, or your program that you're setting up.
No, it's just a communication. I've communicated to the department heads that they need to fill out the transfer form before they're doing it. It has nothing to do with Lao. So previously, they could pay it and run a subline negative. We're transitioning to where they cannot run a subline negative. They've got to do the transfer, which they are doing, the in-house transfers and the other transfers. Do you see what I'm saying? Which the transfers would have been done anyway. So we have department head meetings every quarter, and we talk about things as far as things to transition to make things smoother. We've worked with all this. So then we kind of explained at the last meeting that, now they can see that. And so if they see that postage is running negative, it runs negative when they enter that claim, that's going to initiate them that they need to take from another account. So a lot of times I'm getting the claim the exact same time as it is the transfer. If the transfer is an in-house transfer, which is a 1 to a 1 or a 2 to a 2, then I can do it right then and there, and no one will see it negative. If it is going from a 2 to a 3, it has to go to the council. So in a sense, it will be negative, but that's their budget. If they're wanting to transfer 150 from travel to postage, I'd say that's them.
Sure it is. They just need to transfer it so these don't come in the red.
But if they have to get approval from it, it's just basically a legality.
The approval's different than in the
Correct.
same category, but if you're saying most of these are in the same category.
Those are not. Those are the
Those
ones
are
that
not
are
in
not.
the category.
That's why I just told you, most of those are on after I went through
They
them.
have to be approved by,
By the
So
council.
all those right there can be paid out on October 20th or November 20th. It's the November, I think you guys are the 16th and they're the 19th, if I'm remembering right. So then those right there would not be paid out till the 20th.
But we have to approve them the day tentative of the
Correct.
council approval
Mhm.
before they get approved.
Correct.
That's the key right there. If we want those paid by end of the month, we have to approve it and wait for the council to.
Yeah.
The council's on the 16th.
which takes me,
16th.
which
Are
takes
they
me
the
back to
19th? What are
the
they?
The 19th is
I
Sunday, so
understand
I
that, Ray. I
understand.
completely understand.
Appropriation
I
or
completely
you pay a
understand.
bill. That's the-
But just like Andrew said, we can tentatively agree to approve them, then the council, once the council says yes, it falls back to, we've done said, if the council says it's okay, go ahead and get them paid by the 20th.
And the council meets on the 16th.
16th, yeah. Look and see what you guys are.
We might be after that, might we?
Yeah, Kimberly just messaged me too, because she's been watching and listening.
Yeah, 21st.
Yeah.
So we can hold them and then
So
they can go to the
then,
council, then come to us, couldn't, at that time.
is you guys meeting it? I guess I'm thinking of just the.
I think the council's going early to avoid Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then we're still,
So we can hold all those until
To 21st.
till the 21st. So we would be fine.
You okay with that?
yeah, it's fine. It gets them out of the red then and it gets the proper, the council approves them or doesn't. And if the council chooses not to approve them, then we're not going to spend the money as the commissioners.
I'll check and make sure none of those are gonna be late. If they are, then I'll call a special council meeting. Well, no, I can't, because the council's advertised today. Yeah, that is the 16th, because it's November 6th. I can't go any earlier on the council, so they'll just have to be, because I know that care of institution. Those are actually October's bills that were
Well,
billed
they really need to be paid by the end of the month.
by the end of the month, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
So are we good with that? What we do is the ones that actually show up that need appropriations,
Let the council,
we'll pull them out and then we'll approve them.
Pending the council.
Only one of
We'll
them.
approve them on the 21st.
One of them's additional. Don't say appropriation. Only one of them's additional. The others are transfers.
Okay, until the council approves, takes action. How's that?
Yeah.
Then we will revisit on the 21st. The other ones that's there, and you can sort through them, we'll approve. So I don't know how we don't have a dollar amount on that, but
That's okay.
if we
didn't last time either.
will,
Well, no, we tabled the whole thing.
we will approve with exceptions, the ones that need council action. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
So do I have a motion to that?
I'll make that motion.
No second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. You awake, Steve?
Yeah, but, she's got a meeting at 10:30.
Okay,
I asked Steve if I could go first because I have a 10:30 meeting.
okay.
Chris, I did not bring you a copy because
That's
I know
okay.
we just
We
talked
already
about
talked
this
about it.
via email. I know you guys will have this via email as well. There we go. Okay, so effective July 1st of this year, there were some legislative changes with our health board makeup. So typically, counties who are fewer than 200,000 in population, we have a 7-person board, and they are all historically commissioner appointed. With the new changes effective July 1st, 2 of the positions, one is now a county council appointment, so that is new. And the other change is that 1 commissioner appointment out of the other remaining 6 would need to be from a list of recommendations, 3 recommendations from your largest, most populous city. So that would be Mayor Kale. So the reason why we kind of put this on the agenda is because we have 2, so we have a current opening that we are advertising for. Did you close that down on Friday or what?
So it was set to where the last day was on Friday.
Okay, So we have a current opening because we had a resignation. That position was set to expire on December 31st anyway. And we also have another person who expires on December 31st of this year. So
And that is whose appointment?
that would be Dr. Stan Hubert's appointment. So
Yeah, but I mean, that would be,
you guys, so basically there are two positions that are coming up very, very quickly, and you guys can decide at this point, do you want, we had several applicants, and I'm so pleased with the interest that we have in our health board. So it's really up to you guys. Do you want to, keep one list, since we are right here close to the end of the year? I don't know. I feel like it's kind of silly to appoint someone now for the vacancy spot, and then their term is over on December 31st. I don't know really how you guys plan to do that or what you want to do, but I just want to make sure that the new changes were fully explained and answer any questions you might have.
I think we'd have the right, Andrew, wouldn't we, if we would want to appoint that one, his term wouldn't end until we'd fill out the rest of the term, then he wouldn't be, his appointment would end at the end of that next term then, but couldn't we do that?
So I've spoken, or I've tried to reach out to state, Department of Health on when and how we have to implement this, because it, was in July. So do you have to get rid of everybody to then get into compliance and appoint 5 new people in one? Or do you get into compliance as people's terms come up, et cetera? They've never told me.
I got clarification on that. I did. Michelle Matern is our D10 regional director, and she said as people fall off, you can absolutely fill in those. That was
kind of my default position, is to get
Sure.
into compliance, because you have somebody that's been appointed to a term by a certain body, by a certain entity. So it's not fair for them to be removed for no reason and then whatever. So, I think I agree with what she's saying, is that if you appoint somebody now it would be just for the completion of that term. Otherwise, till December 31st. I mean, you can get those 2 people on there, but their terms would expire because they're just filling the term that was previously appointed.
So does that term that the gentleman that went to Florida, is it expired December 31st?
Yes. So that is
So
the
we have
only
actually
vacancy.
2 coming up.
We have 2 coming up. So we have a true vacancy, which would be that position, who we had opened the window of time for someone to send a letter of interest in. But we also, since we're here, we also have one that is coming, and I haven't talked to Dr. Huber. I don't know if he's interested in, continuing his, and he would like to, send a letter.
to
But
continue after December 31st.
you got it. Yeah.
Right, this will be
So-
appointed the first of the year.
One is truly a vacancy now, and one very soon will be, if he finishes out his term.
So I think what she's saying is you could appoint someone to fill that term now if you wanted to, just December 31st. I'm not sure if there's a pressing need to do that, because you're going to have to, probably going to lose one of these appointments January 1st anyway, because that'll go to the council.
Mhm.
So, I think what I would advise, at least if she feels like there's a need, you can appoint somebody for that December 31st. Otherwise, you're gonna have to wait until Tell City comes back with their 3 candidates that you would have to pick from to fill and get in compliance with the statute, if that makes sense.
So am I understanding correctly, the city will provide 3 names?
Yes.
Yeah, they
That
will
is
provide
the-
3 names.
And out of 3 names, the commissioners will pick one of them.
Yes. And then one of your appointments is now the council's appointment.
But the
Yes.
question becomes, we have some restrictions here on people that can actually serve.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how many of these we actually meet today, how many we
I
might
am.
need
She
to
went
meet.
through all of it.
And how do we determine that the city has to provide us a professional that fits this category?
So you'll see at the bottom that it says 1 person appointed by the county executive from a list of 3 recommendations by the most populous municipality in the county. There are no restrictions on that position. And Andrew,
But what happens if in other words, we have a list here, they're free to, and what happens, we have duplicates, is that a problem, or we
no, we
don't,
have
or we
duplicates
do
currently.
not meet this certain?
You'll see that it says at the top, so the first bullet point, at least 5 individuals knowledgeable in clinical and public health. 1 appointee must be a physician. The other appointees may be any of the the following.
Okay, so we can actually appoint anybody when it says May, right?
Yeah, other than being knowledgeable and clinical and public health.
Right.
That's the only requirement, which is broad. And I think they've loosened that language. It used to be you had to have.
They
certain
did, yeah,
amounts, and now
this
it's-
is very much, they have changed some of the verbiage for sure. Obviously, we would hope that you would consider those who are knowledgeable in public health, or maybe that hold special, education, certificates, degrees, or what have you, that would help benefit our board. I do know that we have had several, people send in letters of intent, and I don't know if if you choose to expand it and we're not going to appoint someone right now and we just wait for the beginning of the year, do you open that window back open? I don't know.
Currently, how many members do you have?
So we currently have 6, because we have 1 vacancy.
Okay, but you've had the 7-member board.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
So it's not an additional member.
No.
So,
So you could fill that one to the end of the year, if you want, but after the end of the year, I think as these members are coming up, they're gonna have to comply with the statute, which means.
so we have a transition period is what you're basically saying as it comes up.
Yes,
As time.
yes,
We're not kicking anybody necessarily off.
no, those
No.
vacancies are coming up, and as they come up, we're getting in compliance with the statute.
And I think with the next 2, the vacancy that we have now and then the person that, expires at the end of the year, you're gonna meet you're gonna be in compliance once you fill these 2 positions anyway, because it's really only 2 changes and we're having 2 new appointees, so.
Right.
I did talk to Mayor Kale last month and let him know kind of what to expect and that he could be thinking of 3 potential people. So he is very much aware of the change, with this, so.
And do we have to, it says here with the political party, no more than 4.
Correct.
And
we have to watch
that
that, too.
has been a problem before because some aren't really politically connected one way or the other.
Mhm.
Because I think you had a health, hospital appointment. And, they were asking that, or somewhere I can remember that, he goes, well, I really don't belong to either party. So I don't know how that's,
We have,
Plays
we
into-
have.
And it goes back to
on our
however they
board.
voted the last,
No promotion, it doesn't.
primary.
if they never go to the primary, then.
Yeah, my understanding by statute is you don't have to go and inquire about what their party is, but if they like publicly taken a primary ballot, then that's declared
Makes
public
them the next
affiliation. Yeah.
so many
And then
years.
that would count towards your no 4 of the same party, but if they have not, then essentially they're unidentified, and so they can be,
And so how far does that go back?
I haven't gone that far.
Because there's a lot,
Yeah.
out there that I don't think anymore. I think in the other past, there was more party affiliation than there currently is. There's a lot of people that consider themselves kind of independent.
Yeah, and I could follow back up with that, but that was the last guidance I think I saw was, you don't have to go and say, tell us what party you belong to, but if there's public information where they
Where you can,
taken a public
Yes,
primary
that's my
ballot, then you.
understanding too.
Well, my leanings right now would be to make an appointment because we're going into this healthcare program with the state and we'll see what the first of the year does. We had 6 or 7 qualified candidates that applied. That way we'll fill your board back up and deal with it as January 1st rather than putting it off. And then hopefully they'll be active in this whole rollout's gonna be interesting. So,
We're ready though.
Yeah.
We're ready. So you're saying, just to clarify, you're gonna hold off on this appointment?
no, my thoughts were just go ahead and appoint somebody.
You really, but, okay, your appointment,
Will last till December
needs-
31st.
but it needs to be one from recommendations from Mayor Kale
We don't have to do that yet, do we? To fill a
as they
current appointment?
law.
I think fill a current appointment, so you can appoint somebody based on the old
Fill in the
law,
old,
filling that old term to
Right.
December 31st.
Right.
But after that, then you'll
we'll
have to
have a
appoint again.
council and
Yeah.
and a city appointment.
But what
Right.
she's saying is, I think that if you wanted to hold off on that, then you could be within that compliance with those 2 vacancies if you
If
waited.
we didn't want to fill the appointment, then as the first of the year, the city and the council would fill the appointment. Well, we would pick. They
You
would be
would
the
pick
ones that
from-
would
yeah, pick
come
their-
up with it.
If you
But
appoint someone now, that's totally
they
your
would-
fault.
they
They're
would
gonna miss
always-
our health board
They
meeting.
would serve.
Didn't
for-
she say, because that's what she said, Claire and I, that they've already missed all, appointing
I
somebody
think at
now,
this
they've already
point,
missed the health board.
If you're
meeting and everything.
considering, if it's a potential, going to be a different person, then I don't think it's doing anyone any justice.
Okay, I feel we've already advertised this, put it out, and these people offered to serve. And,
And they're waiting to hear.
yeah, that's why that's my leaning towards appointment, and then if it doesn't work out going forward, I mean, we're not guaranteeing anybody that's gonna be on there for
I'm sorry, but does anyone smell electrical
Bernie.
hot?
Mhm.
Maybe it's just me, but
You think it's that heat that's right above your head?
I walked out and I didn't smell it.
Nice.
I come back here and I do.
It might be.
I don't smell anything back here.
So do we wanna make an appointment, or we wanna hold off?
I think they took the time to go ahead and put in this. For this, and I think we should go ahead and make an appointment.
I'm good with that. Randy, you okay?
Probably so, since we've done ask for the people.
Yes.
We went through the.
Now, if
whole
we didn't do that, I would say hold off, because December is usually a month that nothing really gets done.
Yeah.
Oh, we've asked. So,
How's that gonna be in December then? Then you just leave them and,
So, assuming that the appointment takes effect immediately and you, historically, you have let, our members know, like you've been selected. I'll just probably meet with whoever you guys choose and just kind of give them a rundown of where we're at, which I feel like is fair.
but then what will the available one, as far as we need to change to be in
So then-
compliance?
So then that position that
Will
they're
come up
appointing
again.
today will come up again, and then so will the other position that I talked about. So then you guys will have to, the council will have an appointment out of one of those two, and then you guys will have the other appointment out of a recommendation from Mayor Kale.
And that will have to be advertised, correct?
Which that's what I have on here too, another item for you guys, is where Nicole has got the list of all of the 2024 board appointees with terms ending December 31st. I wanted permission to go ahead and post those today, which will probably take a day or two to get on the website because there's several of them. And you have to do them each individual. And then for them to be appointed at the December 27th or 28th meeting, the joint meeting you guys have.
we do it at the first of the year. We went through that last year,
Okay.
Randy, and if we change commissioners council or whatever, we let the new group
But there's no
appoint the
change.
people.
So wait.
There
till
isn't
the-
any, but that's still.
So
that's
do
just-
that at the organizational meeting?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what we've
What date
always
is it?
followed
The
because we feel
organizational
like
haven't scheduled yet. It'll be the
whoever's
1st of
in
January.
should pick.
Is
the
that a
people.
joint
First meeting
meeting?
for the new commissioner. It's already gonna make somebody mad.
So we'll
Is that the
post,
joint meeting?
no,
It'd be great if it was, because
we might do a joint organization. I don't know if we can do a joint organizational meeting. The only reason we were gonna do these at the 28th, because they were joint, and we can kind of go through it with what the council and the commissioner was.
Well, we usually, now, that could change, we usually, first of the year, always have a commissioner meeting and the council meeting will follow.
We'll follow
On
it.
the same day.
That's what we
So-
usually have.
And one
we
of them
can-
goes first because there's certain ones and then the other ones. do
It's
this.
sort
So
of-
many appointments.
And we can actually have a joint meeting at that time.
So we'll
just
do
for
it at
appointments.
the first January organizational meeting.
Is there any party affiliation issues with the appointment for this to the end of the year?
this one actually can be either or, because, let me just run through and make sure. We are replacing a Democrat, but it would not put us over if it was
Or on either
either or.
side.
It will not,
I just want to make sure.
yeah, it will not, weigh one side.
So
or the other.
Chris, this organization meeting be the first meeting in
Oh,
January?
yeah, I'll look in January. We typically, it's not an actual regular scheduled meeting. It's the organizational meeting where you'll get your president and all that, and then we'll do the board appointments at that, yeah. So,
So I'll entertain a nomination for that if we're good.
I would like to nominate Corey Philly.
Corey Philly.
Very impressive resume.
I'll second that because I read his resume too. It seems like he's well qualified.
Yes.
Any other comments, input? We have a motion and a second to have Corey Philly fill out the next 6 weeks, basically 7 weeks of the term, that it has been, resigned. All those in favor of that?
Aye.
3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. You gotta put him on a crash course.
Don't worry, yeah. We know each other well. Thank you guys, thank you.
Steve, now you're up. You waited here so long, you almost fell asleep back there, probably.
This needs your approval of specs for our bids for fuel and rock and stuff.
Same thing you do every year, right?
Yep, same thing.
Like we just did that, Steve.
We did.
Been a year.
Yeah. The fuel, of course, I'll go ahead and do like we always do.
Price it both ways?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it pay off this year? It probably
Yes.
didn't did it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we got 342 or something like that a gallon for the diesel.
Yeah.
Well, off-road and on-road is just a penny difference between the two. And diesel was up about $5 a gallon part of the time, so.
I don't understand that because diesel comes straight off the top. I never
Yeah, I know.
have.
Supply and demand.
That was always a question. See, he'll have a price that'll be a little cheaper, but then you can lock in the price for 15,000 gallons.
You know what?
It's always rolling the dice whether you, which way you make the decision. So.
Yeah, watch it real close because fuel actually is down a little bit right now compared to what it has been.
So now's a good time to maybe get a bid.
When do you want to open these bids, Steve?
Yeah. Don't matter.
Do you want to do it?
When I get the bid for fuel, I'll have to call that morning. They'll give me a price any day I call, but I have to lock it in the same day.
The same day we open.
When you're going to accept them, I'll call that morning and get the price.
We have, we need to also advertise gasoline. I don't think you do that, do you?
No.
Okay, I know last year we ended up not getting a gasoline bid and then we got it at the next meeting. And I think in the past, CNS generally is the one who bids on that and they didn't receive any kind of notification and so
Do
they
you want to
forgot about
include
it.
the fuel when you, in that morning, when you get the fuel? Because they'll do the same thing. I'll advertise the fuel
Yeah.
with the diesel. And then when you call that morning, get the fuel
Okay.
and that.
Yeah.
So I'll do that with that. I mean, we can go ahead and get this advertised and then open, do you guys want to do it this December 4th meeting or do you want to do it at the 28th? Because that's your.
Isn't it always the last thing of the year? I remember doing it, but I don't remember the exact.
It's always in December.
Yeah.
We could do it the first meeting in
Yeah,
December.
You want to go ahead and get it done December
If we
4th?
can get it, advertised sufficiently and get the bids in.
Okay, so then we'll,
Because it could go up overnight. And if he can get something
Yeah,
locked in.
It's usually different.
Oh,
I
yeah.
call the day before and I call the next day. It's usually went up or down a little bit.
so the bids will be accepted until 4 PM on 12/1, opened at the 9 AM meeting on December 4th.
And Chris, Randy made a good point on our county fuel, our county vehicles here at the courthouse. We always get a bid for gas
Mhm.
and the sheriff department also.
Yep. So I'll do those
It's
at the
usually
same time.
a few pennies off the price, so that's how it has been, so.
Yep.
Probably need to get that and do it all at the same time.
I'll advertise it with his.
So I'll entertain a motion to, you're gonna get your rock and everything at the time while you do it, right? Fuel, rock.
Yeah, Mulder's bids on the stone. I mean,
Yeah.
they.
So
usually
everything you
nobody else.
need, and then I think we went through the same thing on pipes, and then I think we didn't accept one last year,
We refused all bids on the culverts last year and that gave me the
flexibility to go
Just
from side to
price
side.
of wherever, whoever had the less.
So we're gonna, I would say we follow Steve's
That worked
idea
out
on that.
good.
If you wanna bid them or you don't wanna bid them or however.
Yeah, I'd rather not bid the culverts because I can check with 4 or 5 different suppliers and save a little bit of money.
Okay. And depending on which one's closer to the job site too, and save you some time and
So
effort.
everything's in that packet that you sent me that needs to be
Yeah, could be.
advertised. Okay.
Probably an additional fuel.
And the fuel.
Gasoline.
For the sheriff.
I'd entertain a motion to ask for bids for fuel and supplies.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? 3-0.
Thank you. Harley, I wanted want to tell you guys our paving is completed now. They got done week before last, so everything's done that they're gonna do this year. Brushy Fork will be the first thing in the spring. Last week I got, the signed contract from MnDOT, so we'll be a couple, 2 or 3 weeks getting the money yet. So it's gonna be too late to do it. So as soon as the weather gets fit in the spring, we'll
Okay, when are you planning on bidding that?
just as soon, well, it'll be in the spring.
You gonna wait till March or
Yeah.
what are you thinking?
March is what I'm thinking. Hopefully they can get started on it pretty quick.
And then, okay, the next question is do you have any other approvals? Or do you have all your approvals now so you can get them to go ahead
Yeah.
right away?
And when will this
everything's
be at, Steve, for which roads?
Brushy Fork.
Brushy Fork, okay.
That goes all the way to St. Mark's?
Yes.
Yep.
From St. Mark's to VIP Foliage.
Yeah, because that turns into city right there.
Yeah.
I would also like to do that Sycamore Road while we're there. It's only a half a mile long. It's an old paved road that's getting in pretty bad
Yeah.
shape.
Dan, did you check the water running through out the front of that road? There was
Oh,
like a
yeah.
hole they were talking
Yeah,
about.
we're
They
gonna
said-
have to dig up a spot in that hill and put a French drain in.
Okay, just so we get that done before the paving.
Yeah.
So,
And
There- I know we talked about this last time, Steve, on Brushy Fork. Is there any way you can talk to the street department, tell city to do it all at the same time?
yeah, I've done that. And, when I first started talking to them about this, they thought they could, but no, last I heard, they don't think they're gonna be able to next year. So they'll have a VIP on to 37 it'll be their problem to list the complaints about it.
Yeah, but that still looks bad on the
Oh,
whole
I know
county.
it. I know it.
I
So
saw, I
make
think,
sure we got our county line sign up there.
I think,
Yeah.
Rudolph was down there maybe patching some spots on it.
Yeah.
I think I seen some additional new asphalt on that section, so maybe that's their extent of the, yeah.
That could be.
Yeah,
Now, the
there's one
complaint
problem over
you
the
had,
end of the road too, so.
the letter you guys got on Boundary Way, I got in contact with that guy and talked to him, and he, after I explained to him that it was community crossings and it had to have that shoulder on it, he said, well, I don't like it, but I understand. He said, I won't complain no more about it. So,
Well, the problem we've got is we don't have sufficient road base on most of the roads. So we don't want to grind it
no,
up
we can't
just to
grind
make
it.
it thinner.
Right.
So it's one of those things and I understand his concerns. but
Yeah.
It's,
I know they're done on 166 except for the striping.
Oh, are they?
Mhm.
Well, I
Done.
also wanted to
Beautiful
mention,
job.
every year the airport borrows a patcher and patches, seals some cracks in the runway out there. This weekend, if you get any complaints about the counties out there, it's just our truck and our patcher. They're gonna use that again this weekend, they're gonna patch some of this.
some of the cracks in
runway.
there before winter. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
And I think we've already partially had this discussion, the bat mitigation. Steve and I, before you take off, I've asked down there on the end, I think it used to be Squirrel Road, and I think now it's Swiss maybe. When I was over at the recorder's office, the drawings appeared to get kind of close to where the road is. So I've asked Aaron to get that resurveyed along there. So when that happens, I want you to visit that area to make sure that the county still owns underneath the road and has sufficient ground to maintain the ditches and that.
Okay.
So when they do get it, that's.
That's on that little dead end section.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's up there as it kind of twists back around. They're taking it into bat mitigation, but I'm a little concerned. We don't want to give away property to maintain that road. So,
My
then it
understanding
looks
was
like
that
ball
was still
went
county
on.
to the cul-de-sac, the turnaround.
well, we're gonna get some pins put it, but they're gonna take a section of it and turn it. It is county, but they're wanting to turn it into bat mitigation.
Oh, okay.
And the corner of it goes up pretty close to the road.
Okay.
And I think we need to keep that in the county's name so that we can take care of that road. So when that happens, I'll let you know.
Because it is a new road,
Yes,
just new and paved.
it's new. So,
One more thing about the claims. My deputy just messaged me. We will go ahead and pay the Ohio Valley gas bill because if we don't pay it, it'll be late. But the auditor does have the right to pay utilities prior to approval to avoid late fees and stuff. So I will go ahead and pay the Ohio Valley gas bill, which will be prior to the transfer.
probably have a Tell City electric bill that's
Yeah,
similar.
so I'll go through all those too.
And the board appointments, I think we already discussed that. We put them out, advertising, appointment. First meeting in January.
That'll be the joint meeting,
We either have a
first
joint
meeting
meeting
in January.
or an early or a late one. We just basically both, one does the appointment and the other does the second appointment, so. With that said, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Thank you.
There y'all go.